What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and I am back on the D100 with what should be, hopefully, one of the last major projects that needs to get done before I can start kind of running this thing. Let's take a look. In the last video, I finally got the torque converter and starter issues figured out, and this thing will now crank on its own. So give it some fuel and some spark, and she should start up. That means I need to go ahead and finish up something I started, I don't know how many months ago. That means finishing up my dual side exit exhaust. So a while back, I built the back half of the exhaust system, and that I built using two Black WidowMaker mufflers. And they just come straight out, up over the frame rails and out the side of the bed in front of the back tires. But now I need to connect the mufflers to the headers. So while I was waiting for the torque converter and then figuring out the whole starter thing, I went ahead and I mounted up temporarily the driver's side header. It's just got two bolts holding it in place. It's just there to hold it. Then I fabbed up a pipe to go from the header to the driver's side muffler. Let me show you how I got that fabbed up, and then I'll show you kind of what I have in mind. So there you can see the two mufflers, and I've got the one pipe already kind of tacked into place and fabbed up. So there you can see it runs up. Everything's just kind of, I got the pipes marked where they line up. I got a couple of joints just tacked into place there, and it runs back here and joins up with the collector from the header. What I wanted and what I've been trying to do is keep everything up inside the frame. I really didn't want anything hanging down below the frame. So it just works out kind of perfect that where the header ends up, where the collector ends up, is just right at the frame line, just a little bit above. So I stuck a pipe in there, and I got it set up so that it runs nice and parallel. What I also wanted was right here in the frame bend. I wanted to kind of match that where the pipe came up to join with the muffler. It doesn't really show up real well at this angle, but from the outside, it pretty much disappears. It pretty much follows that frame line. So what I had to do was not only run the pipe up, but it had to come in. So there you can see kind of the angles I had to do to get everything lined up properly. And there you can see just kind of what it looks like under the frame rail. That exhaust pipe is pretty much not visible along that frame rail. So back when I was working on my side exit exhaust, I bought a universal 2.5-inch exhaust kit. And it came with a bunch of straights, a bunch of 90s, a bunch of U-bends, and these are basically what I've been using to fab up the rest of the exhaust. So here you can better see just what I've been doing. So I've got the first piece here is the flange with a little adapter that mates up to the coupler or the collector on the header. Then I got the first pipe in here, and what I did was I just kind of used some alignment marks so I know when I take it out and put it here on my work surface, I can easily realign my tube. I got a piece of straight that comes down here, and then here I took a piece of a pre-bent, I think it was a 45, may have been a U-shape, I don't remember, but anyway, I cut it off here. Again, I got it lined up with a couple of marks, and then I got a cut here to bring it up straight, and also it gives me the angle that I needed to bring the whole thing up and over. The only issue that I kind of ran into was by cutting this pipe on the bends, the tube is a little distorted from them forming it. You can see it kind of, I don't know how well you can see that, but it kind of bends in. So lining up a straight piece where that is perfectly round, I do have a couple of places where it's a little inconsistent in the fit, but I think welding it up and then once I grind it, won't really be noticeable. Same thing up here. I cut this bent piece here, so it meant that I have like a lip right here. What I'm probably going to eventually do is take this pipe to an actual like muffler shop or exhaust shop and see if they can bend up a one-piece tube to mimic this. What I also have to do is here on the other side, my plan going forward is to eventually do fuel injection. So I marked roughly Don't mind my scribbles. But I marked up basically where I want to put my O2 bung. And I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be in the way of any of the bolt holes. I also didn't want it, you know, too close to this flange. I wasn't sure if I was going to clamp this or if I'm going to weld it. So I went ahead and marked up about where the bung is going to go, and I have a bung that I can drill this out and then weld in place. So here's the kit that I got. So it comes with a weld-in bung that'll go there, and then it also has this cap. That way I can cap this, since I don't need it right now. Since right now I'm running carburetor, I don't need an O2 sensor, but when I do decide to put fuel injection, the bungs will already be in place and I won't have to drop the exhaust again to put these bungs in. So I'm going to be putting two, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side, just because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to want to put the sensor, or if I'm going to put two. This way I have the ability to run two or put it where I want, and it's already done. Now I'm just going to go ahead and temp install the passenger side header, since I'm still waiting on header bolts. That way I can start fabbing up the passenger side pipe. So after a bunch of fitting and turning, twisting, cutting, fitting, twisting, I finally got the passenger side exhaust pipe all figured out. Now, the passenger side header, where the collector is, sits a little bit further towards the back and a little bit higher than the driver's side header. So not only did I have to get the pipe, you know, where I wanted it along the bottom of the frame rail and then have it come up and across to the muffler, I also had to bring it down and across from the header. So here's how I went ahead and handled that. Here's where the exhaust pipe will meet up with the collector. So I had to bring it down and then back. And this gets it even with the bottom of the frame rail where I want it, but I also had to get it at a certain angle. This thing is super close to that cross member, but it all clears, and once I put a hanger there, I won't have to worry about it even possibly rattling against the cross member. But now I got to figure out my cross pipe. So there's a better look at just what I was dealing with trying to get that passenger side exhaust pipe in place. All right, so when it comes to doing the cross pipe, I think I'm going to end up going basically in line with the end of the transmission. Let me see if I can get a better angle here to kind of show that. So if I take a piece of pipe, I think it's going to end up going basically right about there. And that's for a couple of reasons. So the first being, I would love to go in front of the cross member because you want to be as close to the collectors as possible. But I get into this bend in the pipe, and the passenger side pipe. So I can't go in front of the cross member. I thought about going as close to the cross member as possible, but I'm going to end up leaving this joint here. I'm just going to clamp this. I'm not going to weld this joint. And that way, if I ever need to take the exhaust out, I could take out the front half and then the back half, because I'm not going to weld up here at the muffler either. I'm going to leave that. So this is basically going to be a two-piece on each side. So if I had my cross pipe right up against this cross member, when trying to get this exhaust in, I would be fighting with the center section of the cross member. The pipe would be hitting that, and I just wouldn't have the room, I don't think, to get the center H basically in here. So by coming back just a few inches from the cross member, basically right in line with underneath the tail shaft here on the transmission, that'll give me room to get this front section in and out without really interfering with anything else. So that's where that's going to go. So after spending some time getting everything mopped up and fully welded, there is a look at the finished product, all the way back to those two Black Widow mufflers. Now that I got the headers fully installed and I got the exhaust welded and installed, I am one step closer to actually getting this thing started in the truck. Now I still have a few odds and ends type stuff I need to finish up. Obviously I got to do all the fluids, and I need to do something about my fuel line. On the passenger side, where I had the fuel line come out from inside the frame rail and had it come up to go to the soft line where it goes to the regulator, that happens to be right where the headers land. So I need to reroute my hard fuel line. But once that's done, everything should be pretty much ready to fire this thing up in the truck. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe, hit the bell. I'll catch you on the next one.